Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Dick's Sporting Goods Foundation and LISC Game On Community Places to Play initiative. I'm Beverly Smith, and I'm the Vice President for LISC Sports and Recreation. I'm happy to be a part of this project and to be able to provide you with just some basic information about the requirements of the RFP, what we're looking for, and we will take any questions at the end, or you can post them in chat. Just so you know that we will be forwarding to all of the participants in this presentation today the recording of the session. You will get the PowerPoint presentation, and we're also going to be putting together an FAQ list with just basic questions with answers that you can refer to. And you will be able to also reach out to us if you have any additional questions that you feel like you need to help facilitate putting together your proposal. So just wanted to start with talking about the initiative for a couple of minutes. And that is that the Dick's Sporting Goods and LISC, we launched this Game On Community Places to Play out of a major interest to all of us regarding the lack of vibrant play spaces in communities. And so the program is going to focus on providing grants for physical renovations to existing indoor and outdoor athletic spaces. So that can be basketball courts, tennis courts, outdoor spaces can also include mini pitch soccer fields. And if there are larger community fields that need help in your community that you feel that you want to apply to, we would be willing to look at that as well. Funding is going to range from $50,000 grants to $100,000 grants, and will require minimally a dollar for dollar match. Those proposals that actually demonstrate that they have more than the actual match funding, that you have the majority of the project cost covered, will actually rate the highest. Proposals are due by June 23rd, 2023. We would advise you to read the complete RFP before submitting your proposal to us. We ask that you send the proposals as a PDF attachment and include all the required documents as per the RFP and that they are listed in the RFP. Please do not send your proposal in the body of the email. It should be as a separate PDF document. And please, when you send the email to us, please title the attachment and your attachments with the organization and your project name. As I said, the grants will range from $50,000 to $100,000 that can be used to toward the cost of building or refurbishing sport court facilities or athletic fields whose main usage will be for organized youth sports. And we want to stress that. We know that in many of the communities that we serve, courts and fields are not just used by youth, but we want to, in your proposal, you will need to demonstrate that there's some organized youth sports programs for these facilities. And it can include, but not limited to, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, football, tennis, lacrosse, and volleyball. Awards will be granted within the neighborhoods throughout the country and chosen based on need and potential impact to the local community. So you want to demonstrate the impact that this is going to have in your community. To qualify for funding, organizations must be a community-based organization, an elementary school or a high school serving a neighborhood consisting primarily of low to moderate income families and individuals. Should have at least one full-time staff person. All volunteer organizations will not be considered, particularly since this is, these are construction projects. We would like that you've been in existence for at least 3 years, have a proven track record in real estate development, so that if you're a school or a Parks and Rec, that you have facilities folks on board that have experience in overseeing getting these projects done. and youth recreational programming. If you're a nonprofit and not a school, a tax-exempt school, we would need to see your 501c3 tax-exempt status. You will need to provide that along with your application. Proposals should include the following: your organization name, your address, phone number, the specific contact person, email address, and the address of the actual project. The executive director and contact person, if it's different for the application, who should we be responding to with regards to the submission? A brief description of the proposed project and the amount of funding that you're requesting. In the narrative, we ask that you do not exceed 5 pages. We would like a brief history of your organization and the work that you've done and who your partners are. A description of the project that includes the budget and the timeline and what the project is going to entail. And impact on the community, the number of youth, if there are also going to be adult groups that are using it. We want to know that, but specifically, we want to know about the programming and the number of youth that are going to be served by the project. With regard to selection criteria, we're looking initially at the feasibility of the project. Are the budgets realistic? And with that, I always say that, you know, because you have to deal with local contractors and everything, we always recommend that you get at least 2 to 3 bids and understand that the lowest bid is not the most responsible. So you really need to be able to compare that and make sure that your budgets and the scopes of work that you're getting from potential contractors are realistic. Are there any site control or environmental issues? And if there are, we need to know that and what the remediation of those sites are entailing and are they in process? Does the project need to be approved by other parties so that if you're a nonprofit that's going to be using public property, a school or Parks and Rec, you know, do you have the approval by those parties who actually own the physical facilities to do this work on their property? We require a dollar-for-dollar match minimally, and that's required at all levels of funding. And as I said, the minimum amount is $50,000 and the maximum amount is $100,000. And those projects that demonstrate that they have funding above the dollar-for-dollar match and can complete the entire project to cover the entire project, those will be rated higher. And we want to know how much of the match is currently in hand. We also will consider as match funding in-kind donations. And so for us, what qualifies as in-kind donations, if there's a local contractor that is willing to work with you and donate time or cut the cost, if they can put that on their letterhead, on your contractor's letterhead to say that they're donating materials or they're not charging you for labor and put that cost in that, then we can consider that as part of your match funding. Project readiness, what is the timeline for the project for the facility or the athletic field? Can the project be completed within 12 months from the funding date? So what will happen is if you are selected for funding, we will put together our legal grant agreement, and you will have 12 months from the actual date of the grant agreement to complete the project. So the timeline is going to be extremely important in listing it in your proposal. We want to know when we can get these projects done. And does the project interfere with existing programming, so that if you have youth leagues or organized sports being used on the site currently, how does that work out with the actual construction and how you're timing it around those activities? Management capacity, does the organization have the resources to complete the project efficiently and effectively? Who will manage the project? And how many full-time staff do you have, and what is their experience in managing and handling this type of project? Neighborhood impact. We want to know if the project meets the low to moderate income requirements. And so we, ask that you look at your community AMI, area median income. And a lot of what we've seen in other programs that we fund is a good a method of tracking that is checking with your local school district and finding out how many youth qualify for free and reduced lunch. And we will be definitely looking at 30% and higher. Will the community at large have access to the sport court facility or the athletic field? We want to know who is actually going to have access to it, and will it serve the larger community? And the proposal should include memorandums of understanding or joint usage agreements between the grantee and your community partner, whoever you're partnering with on the ground, or who's going to have access to the facility. Future maintenance and safety. Your proposal should demonstrate who will maintain the facility or the field, who will supervise the programming of the facility or the athletic field. Is there a funding stream in place to support ongoing maintenance? It would be helpful if we could see a separate maintenance plan with a corresponding budget, so that once the facility is done, the court or the field, that there's some sustainability built into it through a maintenance plan and a corresponding budget, separate and apart from the actual construction budget. Are there any potential safety issues such as lighting and controlled access? Are those issues being addressed, in terms of fencing and all of that? Those are things that we would want to know. On the recreational programming, as I said, we want to know if there's existing programming on the current facility or athletic field. Are there joint usage agreements in place for multiple users who will be using the space? Who is providing the programming? Are there existing funding streams to continue programming for those groups? And how many youth and adults currently participate in any of the programming that's being conducted on these spaces? With regard to partnership building, there's a difference between funding partners versus programming partners. So, you can get local businesses that might want to contribute to funding, and then your program partners might be other sports leagues or youth groups that need spaces to use. So those are two different partnerships that we want you to be able to understand and include in your proposal if it's relevant to what you're doing. Government agencies and local officials, city agencies, whether it's Parks and Rec, if they're providing part of the funding, matching, or the school district, any local elected officials, because sometimes they have money in their budgets to do those things. Any nonprofit community-based organizations that you're partnering with, and as I said, local business leaders who may want to contribute to the project. Those are all partnerships that you can consider. In terms of organizational attachments, we need your two most recent audited financial statements, preferably annual statements for 2021 and 2022. But we will take 2021 because we realize a lot of groups are kind of late in getting their 2022 audited statements done. Your most recent IRS 990 form, preferably 2021. Your current list of the organization's board of directors and contact information. Current list of youth sports organizations and activities that will be utilizing the spaces. Current W-9 form and your current IRS 501c3 tax determination letter. In terms of project attachments, we need the project budget for the renovations and the construction of the space. Financial commitment letters from any of your match funding sources. Separate and apart, as I said earlier, on the maintenance going forward, a financial commitment letter and detailed maintenance plan for the site going forward. Any landscaping or park design plans, if that's necessary, and specifically environmental reports. We really want to know that. We want to know that the spaces are safe and that there are no EPA issues. any agreements and budgets for recreational programming that you have for youth basketball, soccer, tennis, or whatever other sports the space is being used for. Letters of support from any court users and community organizations that are supporting you in getting this funding, and contact information for youth organizations and local school sports programs scheduled to utilize the facility. From our LISC Sports Recreation team, you can contact myself, Beverly Smith, Crystal Hunter, who is our program officer, Keon Furness, our program officer, and Mark Conyers, who is our administrative assistant. And with that, we will start to take as many questions and answers as we can. But as I said, we will be at the end of this, you will receive the copy of the PowerPoint, and you will receive the recording, and we will put together a basic FAQ document that we can send with just general questions and answers that hopefully will help you in putting together your proposal. So why don't we start with questions?
So one question I see, are the funds applicable for indoor courts or outdoor only?
No, indoor and outdoor will be considered.
Okay. Can the nonprofit be established more than 10 years, but the sports team is being revived?
So that if I'm understanding that right, when you say the sports team is being revived, that there is no current sports programming, I think that should be clearly outlined in your proposal, and we can look at it and consider it. But we really want to know that there is current programming for the space.
Can the facility allow for an established program to grow in capacity, number of students served?
Can you repeat that again, Crystal?
Can the facility allow for an established program to grow in capacity, number of students served?
Not sure I understand the point of that, but yes.
Can the match include a portion of salary for the facility's staff, school athletic director, who will oversee and implement the project?
No, the match funding has to be specifically related to the actual construction of the site.
Can the project be done in phases, and can the 12-month timeline apply to just the first or the first couple of phases?
No, it has to be done within the 12 months.
Are sports simulator play available for funding?
Sports simulated play?
Yeah, so they wrote, are sports simulator play available for funding?
I'm not sure what sports simulator play is. Is that?
Okay.
Hi, that's my question. So it would be like, for instance, like a golf simulator, there's all different like VR, things like that get kids moving and competing, but it's virtual or simulated.
No.
What is the timeline for funding?
Once we receive all of the applications in by June 23rd, as I said, that is the deadline, we will be reviewing them, and we will make recommendations to Dick's Sporting Goods. And so we're expecting that announcements will be made in early fall.
We are a youth sports NP with multiple neighborhood centers. Can we submit one proposal for multiple locations?
I would suggest that you submit proposals for the different locations.
Our Parks and Recreation Department pays the salary of the staff of our foundation 501c3. Will that be accepted?
The monies, as I said earlier, are not to be used for salaries, and that will not be considered. The funding that we're giving has to be specifically related to the actual construction component of the sports facility, not for salaries.
Will it be preferred that we submit different proposals for two separate projects at two different locations?
Yes.
Can a Parks and Recreation apply for the grant?
We would ask that the Parks and Recreation, if they do not have an existing foundation of their own, that they partner with a local nonprofit within the community that will function as the fiscal agent for the grant.
The next question is, when does building have to be ready to open?
That you will have to include in your timeline in terms of when you expect the project to be completed.
Can we apply for this opportunity if we have plans to submit for a community grant app to Dix? We are currently holding on that package until we find out if we would conflict with the ability to apply for this opportunity.
You can apply to the program just so that everyone knows that Dix in partnership with the NFL and with our team will consider those projects that are going to meet the final awards. And so if they on their end have received an application from you for another program, they will decide whether or not you can be funded by this program as well.
Are churches eligible to apply if the fields are for community-wide activities and use?
Yes, but they will have to show that. And as I said, the joint usage agreements and will be necessary to include in your proposal.
Match 1-to-1 includes in-kind.
Yes, in-kind can be, as I said, what we will consider in-kind would actually be if, like I said, the contractor that you're using to perform the work is donating either materials or they're not charging you for the labor and they're just going to go in and do the work, charge you for the actual materials. If they can put a price to that on their letterhead and submit that to you, that they're willing to do this and they're committing to that, we can consider that as in-kind.
Because of the limited time frame from grant agreement to completion of the project, what is your estimate of time between award of funds and execution of the contract?
Once the funds have been, the awards have been announced, you will receive a grant agreement letter. You'll be approached by our internal finance team for any outstanding documents so that they can create the grant agreement letter, and you will have 30 days to review. Every awardee will have 30 days to review the grant agreement with their legal teams in the event that there is something that they feel like they can agree to in our specific language. And once we get it back within 30 days and it is in process with your timeline of getting the actual project done, there will be precedents to disbursements that will be listed in the grant agreement that we will follow to ensure that we get the money out to you and that you can get the project done.
Next question says, this is only for nonprofits less than 10 years old. What if you have never had your own facility but have been around longer than 10 years?
We did not say that this is only for nonprofits that have been in existence for less than 10 years. We said that you have to be in existence at least 3 years.
Is prior experience with a local LISC office of any importance?
It can help. You should reach out because our LISC offices are all aware of the program, and we really want to know those groups on the ground that they're working with, and they can vet them for us. So if you need to, I would certainly suggest that you reach out to our local LISC offices if you have a contact there.
If we cannot secure a match in time for the June 23rd deadline, when is the next time this grant opportunity might be offered again?
We don't know. This is the first time we're rolling it out. We don't know.
Are local government entities eligible, nonprofit but not 501c3?
School districts, we will consider.
How many proposals can an organization submit?
It depends if you're submitting them for different sites, like a school district, a specific school district may want to submit for 3 different schools. They can do that. So it would depend on the sites.
What if construction issues and problems getting approvals in a timely way push the timeline beyond control of the organizations applying to beyond the permitted timeline?
Okay, so what you will need to do is, and things do come up, that we will need to be made aware of that. If you're having issues with the contractor getting materials or something, or permits and all of that, those are things we will need to know up front. And we can consider that, and we may possibly consider an amendment to extend the time to help you get it done. But as I said, minimally, we are looking to have these projects done within 12 months.
Okay, let me see what the next question is. We do not want to use grant funds for our staff. The 501c3 staff are paid by our local Department of Parks and Recreation. So our 990 shows no salaries. Will our 501c3 be eligible to, I think they meant to say apply, eligible to apply?
You can apply, and we will review those documents and determine whether or not financially the project is viable and can get done.
If we are a 501c3 nonprofit working with a CBO, should the CBO apply for this opportunity, or can we, as the nonprofit, apply?
If you're working with the CBO, I'm trying to understand the question. Is the community-based organization, what is the relationship? Is there a MOU between the two of you of how you work together? I mean, those are things that we will need to see.
I'm sorry, Beverly, it's Jenny Danziger from the Ripken Foundation. That was my question. As the nonprofit that builds the fields, we partner with community-based organizations, but we're not a school or community-based organization. Should we apply, or should we have our partner who we're building the field for apply? That's the question, really.
Okay, so maybe your partner who you're working with, like I said, that would really require an MOU, a memorandum of understanding of the relationship and whose responsibilities will be what on the particular project.
Right. So, but is there a preference whether the Ripken Foundation would apply for it or the community-based organization that we're working for apply for it? Which one would be preferable?
I'm not sure that there is a preference.
Okay.
Who's going to get the project done.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Separate from this opportunity, we applied for a grant with Dix in 2022 after being invited by Dix employee Amber Sawyer. We have not been able to get a reply from her in 6 months, and we would love to hear about the grant to collaborate with her on this one. If anyone has a better point of contact for Dix or knows what happened to Amber, we would appreciate the help.
Okay, well, there's nothing that we can do with that. That is outside of LISC relationship. I think I would suggest that you reach out to Dix on that directly.
Okay, next question. Crystal, you skipped over my question. Oh, sorry. Next question wants to know pretty much if the RFP is for sport courts and fields only. Their organization operates soccer programming, but they want to renovate an attached youth center as a supplement to the soccer programming happening on field. The center would be sports focused. Is this relevant to the RFP?
Read that to me again, Crystal, because I didn't quite understand that.
Their organization operates soccer programming, but they want to renovate an attached youth center as a supplement to the soccer programming happening on field. The center would be sports focused. Is this relevant to the RFP?
Is it a court? Is it a mini pitch soccer court? Is it, what is it? Is it a recreational space?
That was my question. So yes, it would be a sports-based recreational space, but it's not a court or a field. So
what is it?
It's a youth center that's attached to our field. So it would be a sports-based youth center to supplement our programming, but it's not an actual court or field.
So how would the space be used?
So it would be used as part of our after-school programming. It would have, spaces for young people to come and learn, to play, to be safe, but it wouldn't be, a sport court because we have a sort of separate space. So I'm just wondering if that's relevant.
No, it's not. Unfortunately, we are specifically focused on actual courts and fields.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share the chat questions in the meeting recap email?
Yeah, we're going to do the FAQ, the frequently asked questions that we're going to pull from all of the questions that are being put in chat. with answers to it along with the recording. And as I said, along with the PowerPoint presentation so that you'll have it all.
Can the funds be used to cover some of the operating costs of salary or general admin?
No,
Is trail development to support organized youth bike teams eligible?
we can look at that.
How do we get funding when the local LISC says that they don't have any funding? Kathy here in Memphis.
When the local LISC says they,
How do we get funding when the local LISC says that they don't have any funding? Kathy here in Memphis.
the local LISC office, this is a program that is being facilitated by the National Sports and Rec Team. So you would be applying to the national program, and we would work with Kathy on the ground if you're awarded to fund projects on the ground in Memphis.
That's all the questions in the chat. If I happen to accidentally skip anybody, please just let me know. Is this in Memphis based sports project? Are we competing with applicants across the country?
This is open across the country, and it is a very competitive project. There's only so many grants that we will be able to give out based on the funding that Dick's Sporting Goods is providing. And so the stronger your application, the more competitive it will be.
Are turf fields allowed?
Yes,
Someone please put link in chat for app. It's not a question, but someone's asking to please put link in chat for app. And that's all the questions that I see on my end.
okay. If there are no other questions, we just want you to know that we are definitely looking forward to reading your proposals and considering them for funding. And as I said, we're going to send all of these documents out to you. You should have them no later than tomorrow. And if you have additional questions, follow-up questions, you can reach out to myself, to Crystal, to Keon, or to Mark from my team, and we will be more than happy to answer your questions.
I have a few more just popped in the chat.
Okay.
How many grants will be awarded?
We're not sure. It depends on what we get in.
We have an outdoor facility to run soccer programs in the winter. We need an indoor facility to have practices and skills developed during winter. Is this eligible?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know how many awards will be funded nationally? Is there a number that will be allotted for Memphis or this area?
No, it's like I said, it's a competitive process. So we don't know how many we will be able to award.
Can multiple nonprofit partners, example, soccer, lacrosse, and football?
Sure. What we've learned over the years in our work in this particular area is that most of the sports spaces and fields and courts are the only ones in certain communities. And so they're used for a number of different sports. So yes, we have that expectation that not just soccer or not just, basketball, that some of these courts and fields will be multi-use because they're the only spaces in a lot of the communities that we serve at LISC.
And that's all for the questions that I see. I don't see any more.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We will definitely get this information out to you. We look forward to reading your proposals. And please reach out to us if you have any additional questions. Thanks so much.
Thank you.